welcome to the Clock End Talk, an Arsenal podcast. You can find us at @clockend_talk on Twitter. We're also on Facebook and probably Pornhub. If you search there, you might see Tony. Sight for sore eyes, but he probably is there. I want to get some house cleaning out of the road first before I introduce a few people, because I'm all over the shop this week. We've got a YouTube a shirt given away. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's all you got to do. And basically we'll give an Arsenal shirt away. So get into that. Yeah, mate. Why not? Do you subscribe to us?
I'm on it every week. I'm not subscribed to myself, am I?
Oh, mate, that'd be fucking wild. That'd be a bit wild with you with your TV, watching yourself on Pornhub while listening to you on the Clock End Talk.
Hey, someone's got to appreciate it then.
Tez, you're forgetting the tub of Vaseline beside him.
Anyway, I'll get into a couple of people. That voice that you could hear with the Vaseline, that's Jack the Plug. How are you, buddy? Been a long time?
Yeah, no, I'm good. It's been a very long time. And it was good. Just been watching a lot of football during this lockdown sort of period. A lot of Premier League football, a lot of Championship football, and I'm looking forward to European football in a couple of weeks as well.
Nice. Who else we got? Addy, back again. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, mate. Good. It's been an odd week, like the odd 2 weeks, hasn't it, in football terms? But happy with the FA Cup result, but we'll get into that a bit later.
Yeah.
And as every week and every show, the man, the myth, the legend, Tony. How are you, mate? He's not going to talk to me now. Is he there?
No, he's gone.
He's gone.
I'm here.
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
He's back.
I pressed hang up instead of unmute, and Tel wasn't answering the call. I was here the whole time, and he knows.
Righto, let's get into this, boys, because we've got lots of questions to get through, and I know it's late over there in the UK, going into midnight and whatnot. So,
can I tell before we start? Can I just say your schedule is fucking us up, because if this could have been the most positive podcast because we had Liverpool and City, but your wanking schedule only allows us to do tonight when, well, no spoilers, but we were fucking shit.
I know. Mate, don't get me wrong. After that FA Cup victory, I was like, oh, shit, I really should see what the boys are doing and get a podcast out, because it's going to be the most positive podcast all season. So, but anyway, fucking hell. Anyway, don't get me started. But let's get back. Let's rewind a little bit back, Tony. I just want to, mate, I'm not going to harp on it all day, all show, but let's just get your thoughts on that City game.
It was pretty much perfect, when it tactically perfect. Started off a little bit shaky, but I mean, we created more chances than them. I've seen people say, "Oh, it's easy to praise parking the bus," but we actually had more chances. This is where people that love XG will probably piss me off, because somehow their XG will be better. I've not checked. I don't care. But it wasn't just a park the bus and a smash and grab and we've hit him on the break or from a set piece and got lucky. We was very good. We picked our moments very well. We defended so well. It was just a perfect performance, and selections that you may have questioned before the game were all vindicated. I mean, we were looking at to do a man in the match, and it was near impossible. I know I listed from the starting 11. I done 1 to 11, and there was players that some people were giving man in the match that I had 6th or 7th, and it wasn't me criticising them. I would say, they had amazing games, but they were still, for me, only the 5th or 6th best player. And someone else would give a man in a match, and I couldn't argue it. I couldn't say they were wrong. It was just Arteta's tactics, line up. I mean, who would have thought starting Ainsley would have worked as well as it did? It was an almost faultless performance. He let Mahrez inside him once, but no one helped him. He didn't have anyone double up on him, and that was their only shot on target. It was just everything that could have went right did go right, apart from missing a couple of chances.
Paddy, your take on it all, mate?
For me, good victory. Again, it's showed another style of football that we can play in regards to soaking up pressure. As Tony said, clear cut chances Man City had. Really, that Mahrez shot. Other than that, nothing fully clear cut. Obviously, Silva had that chance, but was it? It was a much harder chance than it looked. Should he have hit the target? Potentially, yeah. But I think, we had that Aubameyang chance where he could have scored again in the first half where he shot straight at Ederson.
Just to cut in, Addy, that would have been given offside if it went in anyway.
Who? What? Aubameyang's?
The Silva chance. Sorry.
Oh, the Silva one. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't think I saw that angle. I don't think I saw that angle.
No, he wasn't offside, but Jesus was 10 yards offside, and he blocked. I think it was Tierney or someone else from getting out to the ball, and the linesman half went to put his flag up and then stopped. So it wasn't just he was offside. He actually blocked. I think it was Tierney from coming out. They kind of half went to put the flag up, half didn't. If it would have went in, it 100% would have been disallowed.
Oh, okay then. Okay, because I was thinking that was a chance. I don't count the Sterling one where it hit his face as a chance because, to be fair, Mustafi flicked it on. Luiz missed the header because of the flick on, and then it just hit him in the face. So I don't classify that as a chance for City. But other than that, it was a nice, compact, good showing. Obviously, I have my. Was it 100% great for me? No, but it was a great victory, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jack?
I thought the City game was. I thought it was a flawless performance. I think we set up perfectly. I think Arteta knew their weaknesses. We used a good balance of the press. We defended well, and I get we were under the cosh of the game, but then against these sorts of teams, you've got no other option because realistically, you're not going to go and outplay City with possession in the same way you're not going to go and beat Liverpool that way. And I think people need to, Arsenal fans, rather than think negatives, which you've seen on Twitter, you need to look at it, which was that we've gone against a big team, we've absolutely annihilated them defensively, and we have a makeshift defence which people were frowning upon only a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it was only a month before then that Luiz was the worst man ever because of his mistakes and his red card at the Etihad, and it shows how having a structure and what it shows is how having a structure could completely transform a team, even if you don't have the players good enough to maybe do it consistently.
Yeah. I think I can't remember what I actually say half the time on this show, but I think I may have made a remark that Luiz is done and dusted at Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't mean
if that's what.
I mean on Twitter, just all the memes and everything.
Yeah, look, and everybody did, but I'll be the first to stand up and say, mate, he was absolutely fucking brilliant.
He was quality.
Yeah, he was brilliant. I know you didn't, Tony, but just
my man of the match, David Luiz.
Yeah, he was mine as well.
And that's a shout out. Who did you go, Jack?
I would have gone Granite.
I went Granite, but some people say I'm biased too. So.
Yeah, I was going to say.
How good's he been though? Let's face it. How good has he been the last couple of weeks?
Granite or Luiz? You mean Granite?
Granite. Since COVID, I think since the restart of football, how brilliant has he been coming back? And I notice a lot of people have missed him, and they've actually seen and gone. Like today, for example, he wasn't in the starting lineup, but then people go, shit, we need Granite, bring him on at half time. You can actually see that midfield struggle. So I'm not saying he's the best bee's knees of players, but you know when he's not in the team.
He's our most important player for how we play, considering how weak we are at the back. Even if you look at Luiz, in my opinion, only capitulated against City because he didn't have Granite in front of him to cover when he needed him to.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking. I did put out a little poll through a bloody survey thing because I'm just trying to get, like people do a Twitter one and people just, hit whatever. So I wanted actually people to take a bit of time and I wanted to have a good look at some stats. So in that game, we had a fair few hits on it. Like there was over 200 odd people that jumped on the website. Lacazette was right up there, boys. 8s, 9s, 10s. Aubameyang, lots of 9s and 10s. I'm going majority. Pepe was 6, 7, 8s, 9s. Maitland-Niles 5, 6, 7s and 8s. I thought that was a bit...
You gave him a 5.
No.
I don't know. Mate, this is based, Tony, on... So if there's...
Addy, did you give him a 5?
No. For that performance, I gave him an 8 for that performance.
I think they probably only gave that to him though because of how when he went forward he could not put it across to save his life.
No, but a 5 is ridiculous. A 5 is insane.
A 5's absolutely.
It's insulting. It's actually insulting.
It is.
Just admit you don't like him. Just write in the comments, 0, I don't like him. Don't give him a 5, because if you give him a 5, you're already taking the piss. Give him a 0.
Yeah.
At least then everyone knows you're just a dickhead.
Exactly, mate. I couldn't believe it, and that's why I went this way, Tony, because it gives me more of a little bit of a flow of what people are going. Granite was 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s. Ceballos 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s. Now Bellerin 5, 6, 7, 8s, and 9s, and I just can't. I'm not saying he was bad in that game, but I'm not saying he was brilliant. Like, he didn't stand out for me. I don't know about you boys, but
for me, he was our worst player. Like when I done my 1 to 11, he was last, and it was an easy decision. But still, at 5 is harsh. I thought the first 20 he was really bad, and then after that he was as good as anyone else. But for the first 20, I have to base it on that. He obviously played that blind ball inside that was ridiculous. Just after that, he had a horrendous touch. He had another ball that it was a simple 5-yard pass that he ended up putting into the row Z, I think. And then after that, he was great, but he had that 20 minutes where most others didn't on the day. I think I also put, I'm not sure who I put 10th actually, but I put Hector as our worst, but I still think a 5 is ridiculous, and this is coming from someone that particularly like or rate him. Not that I don't dislike him, sorry, I don't rate him.
Yeah. Tierney 8s, 9s, 10s. Louise 7, 8, 9s, 10s. Mustafi ranges from 6 to 10.
Again, how is someone giving Louise a 7? Like,
I don't know.
What did you watch?
Yeah, I know. It's I know. I don't get it. But, man of the match was Aubameyang, Louise, and...
You said Lacazette at the time. I don't know if it's changed.
You
said Lacazette.
Yeah, it has changed. I'm just trying to look. Might have been Granite. Granite was 1. So on a 3-2-1, Aubameyang, David Luiz at 2, and you'd say Granite as a 1. So I can't argue with it, really. It's a hard one because they all had a great game, and when you do it into the match, when everyone has a great game, it is tough.
Yeah, I mean, I had Lacazette 5, I think, out of the 11, and I thought he was exceptional. But to be honest, I said this to someone the other day. I actually think he played better than Aubameyang. But when you win 2-0 and Aubameyang gets 2 goals, he has to be up there.
Yeah.
100%.
But as a pure performance, Lacazette was better. So, but for me, he was still only 5th best. And I know people might think there's a bit of biasness in there because I'm not his biggest fan, and I can't praise his performance enough. I just thought others were better.
It's the same sort of thing you get at Liverpool with Firmino, isn't it? Doesn't score the goals, but he's a great player. But because his goal score record's not great, he's not considered a top striker.
Yeah,
someone in the chat has done. Someone in the chat's asked Ceballos with a question mark, but I can't remember what I read yet now. Sorry, mate.
Can I just say something about Ceballos quickly?
Yep.
About Ceballos, before the lockdown, if people would have said to me, "Would you want him to sign on for another year?" I would never ever have considered it. But how he's been since the lockdown and under Arteta, he has been absolutely phenomenal.
I had this conversation yesterday, but I agree with you completely. I had this conversation yesterday. How much would you be happy paying for him? Like Real Madrid said, we're not loaning him. What price would you put on it? And I struggle. I'm not asking this to trick anyone because he's been excellent for 7 games and bang average at best for 20 odd. So.
But then what if you did this?
I don't know what that number is.
What if you did this then? But would they do a loan? So on that context, would they agree to a loan with an obligation to buy? Because I'd happily spend money on him if it's next year's budget.
But still, probably. But my point still is, what number would that obligation be then? Whatever way you want to look at it, whether the transfer's now or in 12 months' time, what number are you looking like? Because if you're saying an loan now, but you have to buy him for 45 million next year, at this exact time, my answer is no. And that's not a reflection on how he's been playing, but I don't think he's a £45 million footballer from what we've seen.
Would be for me.
Yeah, but I'd be around that 25 to 30, to be honest. But it's not a cut and dry.
Tony, I just want to cut you off quickly. Yeah, Tony, I just want to ask you though. I'm echoing. Around the 25 to 30, who else competes in that market? And then you go up to 40, 45. What midfield are you getting for that? You know what I mean? Like, what's your options?
I mean, my biggest issue with him, and look, there is other options out there. My biggest issue with him is I don't really know where he's going to fit in. At the moment, we're playing a 2. Look, everyone seems to believe we're going to get Partey. I don't know. I don't know more than anyone else. But if that's the case and we're going to play a 2, then look, you would all imagine Xhaka stays in the team. If we're going to go to a 3, and I've said this a lot of times, and then you assume Xhaka and Partey, I want the third person to be someone who affects the other end of the pitch and gets goals and gets assists.
But then based on that, if you look at the reports at the moment, where does Ceballos get a team? Because realistically, we will move to a 4-3-3. But then based on reports about Guendouzi, surely if it happens, you go Xhaka, Partey, Coutinho.
Maybe, but then that I mean, whether Coutinho's the man or not, but that still comes to the point that then why would you spend 40 million on Dani Ceballos, who's going to be warm in the bench?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if based on that, he wouldn't fit in the team.
Yeah, which is my point. What price would you pay for him, considering he may not be a starter? As I said, I think at 25 to 30, you probably do it because there's a player in there and he's only 23. I think you're not really going to lose money on him. But I'd be quite uncomfortable. Look, I'm one of these. I don't really care what we spend on players because it's not my money. But if it affects our other targets, then it becomes an issue. So if our budget is somewhat limited, I wouldn't be looking at 35, 40, 45.
I'd say 30 euros is probably about right.
I think that's probably what you'd get him for, to be honest. But obviously, you never know. And it would just be at what price are you comfortable paying? And for 30 million euros, to be honest, the exchange rate, there's nothing in it. It's about 28 million quid. So that would be an okay zone for me, but obviously not my decision. It'd be interesting to listen to see what people listening think, what number they would be happy to sign him for.
Yeah, it is a tough one.
That's the thing. I don't. Obviously, we're talking about loan with an obligation to buy. But the issue with all these loans and everything, like typically, Arsenal would have wanted a player that could hit the ground running straight away. But then year after year, and it's already shown in the Premier League that you're going to need some time to bed in. And I felt that under Emery, that he didn't know where to put Ceballos, whether he was going to pay him as an 8, whether he was going to pay him as a 10. And I think even that Liverpool match where he was just basically doing doggies. It was just like I was even more baffled of what he had, because you could have basically put Torreira in that position and Torreira would have run doggies better than Ceballos,
but this is also the man who played Torreira as a 10.
Yeah, 100%. Like obviously, these guys know my thoughts on the last manager. Do
you want to say his name for us? Do you want to say his full name for us? Will that bother you too much?
Yeah, that would bother me. He's like, is it Voldemort? Yeah, you just don't say his name. Yeah, I think Ceballos. I really think I would need to see him next year, one more year before I even say let's buy him.
But that's not going to be an option because it would be a loan with an obligation.
See, that's then I would have to think again, because I bet you any money if it was a Spanish team that came in, they to be I don't Real Madrid probably Real Madrid will probably sell him for much cheaper, or even 20 million euros.
Yeah, but that's because
It is tough.
but that's only because they know that the Premier League clubs get 80 million a year in TV money.
Yeah.
Well, in the chat, someone said 40 mil, young player, worth it. Island Boy said 20 mil. Yeah, I think 40 is too high. Rick said 20 to 25 mil. Insane. How old is Tobias? 22 or something?
Can I just say? If it was 40 million for Ceballos, on the base he's only showed this for the last 6 weeks, I don't think I'd stoop up 40 million if it was me doing it personally. But I think that's a bit much.
Yeah,
I mean, on the basis that Partey is what, 32 million pounds ish, then 40 for Ceballos doesn't make sense.
It's not even that. I mean, I think Partey's release clause is more than that. Obviously, no one knows what's going on. But for me, the big red flag is, does he even fit in our starting? Where does he fit, or does he even fit in a starting 11? And if the answer is he doesn't, then he's probably not. Look, I think there's £30 million worth of player there, but you're only worth what someone's willing to pay for you. And if he's not going to start for us, we're not in a position where we can spend £30 million on a guy who's going to sit on the bench, unless we get rid of Guendouzi and Torreira, which wouldn't surprise me. And you say Partey replaces Torreira if he comes in, and Danny replaces Guendouzi, but you're still essentially spending 30 million on a guy who probably ain't going to play too much.
I mean, if you look at our squads, we need to sign a midfielder on top of replacing who goes, and we still need to fill that Ceballos slot because he's obviously only here on loan. So that's with Ceballos not irrelevant. But then if Guendouzi goes, that's another midfielder. Then on top of that, you still need to sign another one anyways. Do you know what I mean? So we need to sign at least two, and then on top of that, we're one in, one out, if you think about it.
But then the issue I think we'll have is what he thinks about Willock. Because for me, I wouldn't have Willock in this Arsenal team. I don't think he is ready to play in the Premier League. But then no one actually knows what Arteta's thoughts are and thinking in Willock. Like, is he going to play more? Because he's played 40 games this year.
Yeah.
And to be fair, when I heard that, I was surprised, because is this how bad it's gotten that Willock is around the place?
To be fair to Joe, I think what Arteta's been doing is that, I don't know if he sees him as a top midfielder per se, but I think he sees Willock as quite a presence in the midfield who has a shit ton of energy, who can come off the bench and make an impact because of his intensity. I don't think it's necessarily quality driven, because if you look at it as well, based on your argument again about pushing Willock out, if you look at where Arteta's come from, City, they've got a luxury where they can essentially swap and change anyone in their squad, and it doesn't change how good they are on the day. And I think if we're gonna compete, we have to build a squad similar. And I think that especially if we are in the Europa League next year, which is now obviously only now down to if we win the FA Cup or not, we're going to need that squad to rotate to be able to actually compete in any way for the Premier League as well. Not necessarily winning it, but I'm saying even for top four.
Just to go back on an earlier point, I mean, for one, I think Arteta's used Joe quite well in the last few weeks, and if he's going to continue to lose them like that, it might say 40 games at the end of the season, but 20 minutes at the end of the game when you need a bit of legs, for me, he's fine doing that role. I'm not saying he's brilliant. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he does do that well. I mean, I thought he was fantastic against Wolves when he came on. I know he had the shot cleared off the line that he should have scored, but his energy and his work rate was superb, especially like with the last 21 free kicks high up the pitch. So I don't mind him doing that role. And to go back on what we were saying earlier, you're saying we need an extra body in midfield, especially if we do go to a free and you get one more of them attacking. For me, that name's Smith Rowe. I know Addy doesn't like him as much as I do, but
Smith Rowe has been quality for Huddersfield.
Not that I don't like him. Not that. See, again, my issue with our youngsters.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to say, I'm not saying as a starter. I'm saying as an extra option.
Mm-hmm. I just think our youngsters are not ready for.
But how are they going to get ready?
Exactly. You have to give them a chance.
But see, how I.
Well, was Saka ready as a left back? The answer is no.
No,
Like
no,
exactly.
100%.
But and look what's happened.
100%. But then this is the thing, Saka, prior to Saka this season, Saka, from my point of view, I've known about Saka, and I've known like agents connected to Saka, and they've held him in high regards, Saka. So,
But the two that have always been spoken about have been Reece and Smith Rowe. Always.
Reece, hold on, but
Can I say something about Reece?
Hold on, just before, just to answer the question of how do we get them ready, how I would get them ready, and how other teams in the past would get youngsters coming through ready, sending them on loan. Whether it's a Premier
I don't think
League
we've got.
or
I don't think we've got the
Championship.
luxury.
See, then I'll put that on Arsenal, because I think Smith.
Yeah, but you can put it on Arsenal, and you're right. You're right to put it on Arsenal, but we're not going to go out and sign 10 players. So then you fill the gaps with the quality you have, and that's how Saka's got his chance, and he's thrived, and he's earned his new contract, and he's been brilliant. There's people that are talking about him as our player of the season. I wouldn't go that far. And I don't think we can, when we've got these gaps in our squad, give these kids who are clearly talented. Look, I'm not Reece's biggest fan, but he fills a gap. He probably started 5-10 games, and the others he fills in 20 minutes here and there when it's needed. Smith Rowe is more than capable of doing that, and the only thing that's going to make me sound slightly like a dickhead is the one Premier League game he got the chance in. He didn't have a good one, right? But the kid is, as I said, the names that have always been spoken about for the last few years are Reece and Smith Rowe. You didn't even hear anyone else's name. I know Saka's a year or two younger, but he had teams in the Bundesliga offering 30 million for Smith Rowe last summer. And then he obviously got the injury. He's been out of Huddersfield, been their best player by a country mile. Like the manager, Danny Cowley, before he was sacked, said, I've had to take him off because his body's not ready for playing 90 minutes every week yet. But he said, I'm almost booing myself when I take him off. He's that far ahead of everyone else. Like Danny Cowley said, I understand why the fans boo me because I boo myself when I have to take him off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would say, look, we know the quality of Smith Rowe, and I can guarantee you a Premier League team will come in for him and
100%.
week in, week out.
I don't think. I've got to be honest with you. For a player's development, I don't think loaning to the Premier League is a good idea. I think, and I've watched a lot of Championship football recently. I think the Championship is the best place to send a youngster because of the physicality.
This is where I differ. I would send him to the Premier League if we had when Jack was coming through, he went to Bolton because we had Nasri, we had Song, we had Fabregas. I'm probably forgetting some other class midfielders that we had. Even Denilson was probably ahead of Jack at 16 years old. Yeah. So that's understandable. We don't have that luxury now. A 16-year-old Jack would start for this current Arsenal team. So for me, I would be with you if we had the luxuries. At the moment, we don't, which is the reason why the Joe Willocks and for me the Smith Rowes should be your options, because we ain't going to go and buy 10 players. And there's other issues rather than our fourth choice midfielder or fifth choice midfielder we need to fix before that. And when you've got the internal options, for me, I think it's almost a no-brainer. I wouldn't be surprised if you're right and Smith Rowe goes out on loan, but it's not what I would do.
Just to quickly track back about Reece. One thing is that when he was coming through the academy, it was obviously the same age group as Jadon Sancho. And apparently, Reece was always held in higher regard than Jadon. The only difference with Sancho is that he was able to go somewhere like Dortmund and get the game time to then develop. But through his development, Reece was always apparently the better player. And I feel that if we can get Arteta to work with Reece in the same way that he did with Sterling, we could have an absolutely lethal right-sided player, or you could even play him central. But I think Reece has been criminally underrated by the fan base simply because he's been a little bit on and off injured this season.
Okay, I'll let that go for a little bit. That's great, boys. I enjoyed that little chat. I just have to point, Tony. I just have to ask you two questions though. A couple of boys have said, who was it? Rick. He said Jack Grealish. Get rid of Ceballos.
I don't think we can. Look, I'm not saying this because of tonight's performance where he was clearly man of the match, or definitely attacking wise, you could give it to one of their defenders. But I've been a huge Jack Grealish fan for probably since the first time I saw him play. But does he fit into a system we're going to play? Maybe not. And secondly, could we afford him, especially now they will probably stay up, or if we beat Watford, they stay up. Also, probably not. So, this is not a reflection of ability. I think I even said on here a few months ago when it looked like Partey, the reports were it was done or whatever. And then I said, if you could have one realistic player, like who would you sign if it had to be realistic? So you couldn't say Messi or Ronaldo. And I'm pretty sure my answer was Jack Grealish. So it's not a reflection of his ability. I love the guy, but I just don't think it's plausible.
Sorry, Jack. The other thing I just got to ask, just quickly. So Tony was talking about Ceballos, and he's not sure how Ceballos fits into the squad. I get where you're coming from, Tony. Absolutely get where you're coming from. But my question now is, after the Man City game, you're seeing Ceballos and Granit playing really good football together. Is this the way forward for Arsenal, like Ceballos and Granit? Because Arteta seems to be getting, the best out of them two players. No?
You look at Leicester, you look at Tottenham, and you look at today. It's easy to pick the best game. Now look at the worst game.
Yeah.
Look, they're good enough. Well, are they good enough? Because you come against a low block team, and let's be honest, neither of them affect the game. Like Danny's stats are probably fantastic. Already made 27 forward passes, the most in our team by an absolute mile. I also read only 2 of them were into the area. But he didn't impact the game. And I'm not saying he had a bad game, because he wasn't terrible. He wasn't worse than anyone else. But you can't have them two. This is why, as I said, if we go to a free, I want someone like a Grealish who is going to cause problems in the final third.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, Jack. What were you saying quickly, mate? Then we'll keep moving forward.
I was going to say, with Grealish, though, where would you deploy him? In the middle or out wide? Because Villa have seemed to do both this season. Because if you're looking for the... No, I know, but I'm saying that Grealish could essentially play, if Arteta opted to do this. Remember with Arsene, how he'd play one side, he'd have more of a winger, and the other side, he'd have more of a creative midfielder, like about playing out wide. You could have him, but do you know who I think would be a better signing overall in the long term? And it's a bit of more of a left field shout, but it's Brentford's Saïd Benrahma. Because not only can he play out wide, and I've watched a lot of Brentford, like a lot, this season. Like most games. And what he does well is that not only is he electric on the wing pace-wise, but he's also incredibly creative. And in the same way that, obviously it's a different position, but in the same way that, let's say, Santi or Wilshere in their prime could also pick a pass out and completely open up space, he also has that ability. And I really think that he would be the perfect signing for us attacking-wise for next season, because you can play him in the middle, you can play him out wide, and then he can also be good competition and help grow players like Gabby and Bukayo.
For me, there's a two-part thing there. For me, I would play Grealish. As I said, if we're going to play a free, I'd play him as the third of the free, with Xhaka and Partey behind him, and he can roam. That gives him the license to roam. Benrahma, I wouldn't let anywhere near the middle of the pitch. I like him as a left winger. My issue is Aubameyang might be playing there, Saka, Martinelli, and also I think with the way he's going, I know a lot of teams are looking at Benrahma, so you're probably looking at 30 million anyway. And Grealish will go for 40 to 45. And
just the only benefit is the fact that Brentford want Balogun. And also on top of that, we also have no, I know, but on top of that, they want Balogun and they've bidded for him in the past. Therefore, he could allure Saïd here. But the other thing, and this is worth noting, but especially with Brentford, is that we have a very good relationship with them anyways. We've given them a lot of players as well over the years. And I think they would be quite inclined to do business with us.
But you've also got to remember it's up to him. There's going to be Champions League clubs or definitely Europa League clubs, which we might not be going for him. Look, for me, it's taken a chance at 30 million. For me, I'd rather a 40 million with a Grealish where you sort of know you're going to get. For me, the issue with Benrahma is there's a high ceiling. He is essentially a little Eden Hazard. He's a BTEC Hazard that has space to improve, but he's done it in the Championship so far, and we've seen a lot of players that do it in the Championship and can't convert it to the Premier League. But we've also seen on the other side Riyad Mahrez, who was excellent in the Championship, and after 6 months in the Premier League was just as good, if not better. So,
not just because he's Algerian, but not just because they're from Algeria, but they're very similar players.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean,
Okay.
as I said, you get players that they do it. It's personality, isn't it? Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. Look, when Vardy came up, absolutely no one said it would work for him in the Premier League. His tenacity's made it happen. It's not due to country, because then there's been loads of fucking David Nugent came up to the Premier League scoring 10 billion goals every week in the Championship and couldn't do a thing. It's just, for me, I would rather pay a 10 to 15 million pound more for Grealish, where you pretty much know what you're going to get. But Benrahma possibly has a higher ceiling.
Someone's asked in the chat, Grealish and Partey, is that a good summer window? Cool. Why would you get both, though? Would you get both?
In an ideal world, I would get both. I don't, as I said, we don't live in an ideal world and it's not going to happen, but I would get both. Is it a good summer window? I think we probably need a bit more than that. I think we probably need a centre-back, especially if we're going to stay over free. And then beyond that, look, it depends. It's not going to turn us into a title-winning side, but I don't think anyone expects that. Gabby being out till December is an absolute bitch. We don't know what's going to happen with Lacazette and Aubameyang. Look, so would Grealish and Partey be a good window? Yes, depending on outs. Is it a perfect window? No. But as I said, I don't think it'll happen anyway.
Who's this young, is it Sarr? I was reading on a free.
From Nice. Is it Nice or Reims?
Nice.
It's one of them over there, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Know much about him. I see a free. He's a young player, so.
Yeah, I've heard a few things about him. Heard he's athletics, left-footed as well. There's a few question marks on him though. That's the only thing. But again, with Arsenal, if they could tick a box with getting him instead of paying money for Upamecano, I could see Arsenal doing that.
He would only. So me, Schwinn, and Darren had this question a couple of weeks ago. So I've kind of looked into a bit. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert because I didn't know who he was 2 weeks ago. But I think one of the drawbacks, I only bring this up because you're talking about Upamecano. So Malang Sarr's only 6'1", so he'd play on the left of a free, as you said, he's left-footed. I don't think it would be an alternative to Upamecano. I think if Upamecano was on the cards, it would be an addition to rather than an instead of, because he's not an out-and-out centre-back. I mean, I think he has played left-back, he's played left centre-back. As I said, 6'1" is not someone you're looking at as a...
no.
Especially the way we've been defending, where you force people wide and sort of guarantee you're going to mop everything up in the air. For me, you don't have a 6'1" centre-back to do that.
I know nothing about the player, Tony, but what I do know, or what I think I know, is a 23-year-old out of contract who's available for free and nobody's yet claimed him. I think to myself, is he that good? That's my only issue.
It's a mess because you don't know if anyone's gone for him. Also, it's horrible at the moment because the French league finished ages ago, finished in March. No one else's transfer window's open, so any talking's being done behind closed doors pretty much. Mm-hmm. No one has, off the top of my head, and people might say, give me a name and I'm wrong, no one has moved for a free yet. So you're either saying everyone that's free is shit, or that no one's announced anything yet. Like, we know, and we know Ryan Fraser signed for someone. Don't ask me who. We can almost guarantee he's signed for someone. Jeff Hendrick at Burnley. 100% he's already signed for someone, but no one's announced it yet. Are they shit? No, it's just the way things are going at the moment. Everyone's waiting to...
Did Santi go for free the other
day?
Yeah. Outside?
Yeah. No, but when we were talking about announcements, it's a team in... look, let's be real. I don't even know what country they're in. I know the Middle East.
Saudi Arabia?
I got no idea.
I think Saudi Arabia.
I would have said
Qatar.
Yeah, I would have said Qatar. But I don't know. Qatar, but I wouldn't be putting money on it. When I say no one's announcing, I mean no one that's actually relevant, and I'm probably going to get someone moan at that. Yeah. But let's be honest. What
that's the only reason I brought it up, because some can't moan and go, oh, fucking, haven't you heard of this?
and the reason we know about it is because it's Santi Cazorla, not because of the team. If it was any other Villarreal player, literally no one cares.
Yeah. Okay, boys. FA Cup, we're in the final. I just want to get your predictions before we move forward on the Villa game. Jack?
I can't predict this one. I don't want to jinx it. If you look on paper, we lose, but then games aren't played on paper. We're the underdogs, and we got to play to that strength the same way we did in 2017.
Addy?
I would say a 3-1 or 3-2 victory to Arsenal. I really wanted United because I think we would have actually won that as well. But I wanted to shut a few United fans up. But I'll say 3-2 Arsenal.
And Tony, it'll be a regular 10-0 for you.
Well, no, I'm just going to, before I say that, I'm going to give a little bit of context. I fucking hate when fans start talking too early. Like, you don't win anything for chatting shit now. If you win the game, talk as much nonsense as you want. And believe me, I'll be at the front of the queue. But we had it with Baku. We had it with the Tottenham game last week. Oh, shall we win 3-0 or 4-0? Blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. We're going into this game as underdogs. I hope we win. Of course we do. But me saying it now ain't going to change anything. Apart from we're just going to be more pissed off if we don't win because we've been telling everyone we're going to win 3-4, 5-0. So for me, just be quiet. My prediction is a game of football will be played at Wembley, and at the end of it, someone will lift a trophy.
Do you know what I like about the storyline though for it? It's that what this final gives it essentially gives Arteta to do what Emery failed to do. Do you see what I mean in terms of beating Chelsea in the final to get European football?
Look, and I just want to take me rosy-coloured glasses off a little bit first. Let's not underestimate what Frank Lampard has done at Chelsea this season.
Yep.
Right? He's had no Hazard. He's had a transfer ban. Are they sitting in 4th or 5th at the moment? I haven't really looked. Third. There you go. Third. An FA Cup final. Like, for me and a couple of boys were talking about this last night, manager of the season, we'll discuss it. I said, you've got to give it to Glock. But Frank Lampard, he's a worthy fucking shout with a close second. And who's that other bloke? Wilder?
Chris Wilder.
Mate, they're probably the three for me this season. So,
not manager of the season, but do you know who definitely should be given a look in for what they've done? I think the work that Steve Bruce has done at Newcastle has been criminally underrated.
Because it's Steve Bruce.
Yeah. I had them as relegation at the start of the season, so that's how far I was away.
Well, let's be honest. Everyone had Sheffield United as relegated. I've got mates that play for them, and absolutely. I had them relegated.
So that's where I'm at with Chelsea Arsenal, boys. Frank Lampard, I can't, like, I know Arteta done a marvellous performance against Manchester City for the semi-cup, and I hope we replicate that going into the final. But I can't underestimate this Chelsea team, and we are underdogs by quite a bit.
100%. 150%.
Okay, boys, getting into this game today, it was a game I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and thought, okay, an easy 3 points here. I asked the question on Twitter yesterday and I copped a fucking bit of slack because apparently I'd taken the Mickey out of fucking Manchester United. Fuck about what I was doing there. But it was basically, I was wondering where Arsenal could finish on top of the ladder. Like, where could we finish? Because there was talk about us still getting Europa League and things like that. So I was like, there might be a chance or what to go. But I think that's all out the window now anyway. So, yeah, we didn't get the 3 points. Tony, I'll go to you first, mate. You seen that lineup come out, and what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird, but it wasn't ridiculous at the time. I think you sort of knew Eddie was going to play on the right, and obviously they wanted to get him back in because he's been out for 3 games, but it seemed a bit weird. Giving Granit a rest, sort of fair enough. Look, you can look at it as resting players rather than dropping players. I didn't think the lineup was ridiculous. There was a few raised eyebrows, but you could make good reasons. Sometimes lineups come out and you think, why the fuck has he done that? With that, you look at it and you go, I can see why he done it. Maybe apart from Eddie playing wide.
I was a little bit thinking Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, my main thing was Granite. I'm thinking, Addy, and I was thinking like yesterday. Okay, we can still get a chance for Europa League, right?
Yeah.
But you're playing not a weaker team, but I just don't rate Torreira. I'm sorry, I just don't rate the kid. Like I'm done with him.
But in fairness to
Holding,
Torreira,
they come back.
in fairness to Torreira, he's not suited for a 2. He's suited to play in a 3.
3, yes.
He's not suited to play in a 2-man.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the issue, just from my side, I just Arteta the other day said that cool, we have to play basically the best team, the strongest team. This was I think for the Man City match just before, so we can keep our momentum. This was for the Liverpool match for the Man City game, because I think people were saying, are you gonna put out a weekend side against Liverpool so we can rest up for the Man City game? And obviously said no, that we have to keep our momentum.
Yeah, they did.
But
Like,
my issue,
I've been saying for a long time, you can pretty much ignore what Arteta says.
yeah,
Like, he comes out with, there's probably one line of a 10-minute speech that is useful. But everything he says, he's very clever. He speaks for a reason. But it's nonsense. A lot of what he says is what you want to hear.
But then,
And it's not a criticism, by the way.
no, but for me, it's a criticism, because like I'm looking at this game. Cool. You won against Man City. You won against Liverpool. You won against Man City. Okay, some players are going to be tired, but let's put out the strongest team, win the game, make your changes. Eddie,
I agree.
I said this before the match. Yeah. I said Eddie shouldn't even be on this pitch. Again, another youngster that I feel is not ready to play for Arsenal. Like, we've got better youngsters that should be playing ahead of him. But cool.
I've got nothing against youngsters, Eddie.
And that's it. Like, I have nothing against youngsters, but our youngsters are not ready.
But you've got to play your strongest team. Yeah.
Sorry, let me say, some of our youngsters are not ready to play in this team, because obviously Saka, Martinelli.
You have to say though,
they walk into this team.
You have to also appreciate the fact that we've just had 2 ridiculously intense games back to back. We've also got a cup final next week, and the games are still as quick and intense as they are. And I think the way Arteta probably looked at it, which is that if these players get overtired and they overstretch, then they're susceptible to injury.
Let me correct you somewhere. Sorry, you said 2 intense games. Yeah, I didn't see Arsenal going back to back against Liverpool or City. I saw us put in a very good defensive performance. Cool, okay, it could be nerve-wracking, but I won't say it was intense.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making, though. But that's the point. For the players, physically, that's more demanding, because they are constantly concentrating, they are constantly on ball, and they are having to sprint to win every single second ball.
But then for me, I think they preserved their energy more, because they didn't have. I don't think they exerted as much energy. I think the only person that I would say that exerted as much energy were our wingers and our wing backs, and potentially Aubameyang and Pepe.
By the end of the City game, the players were absolutely shattered. They put in 120%. Just because they're not playing an intense press,
I'm not saying that they didn't put in 120%, but I'm saying that their recovery for the work they did, for me, would have been much easier for this game. And even if they were tired, start your Pepe, start your Xhaka, and then take them off after 60 minutes.
But they had 2 days off between Liverpool and City, and we've had two days rest to now. That's not enough. Playing 90 minutes of football at this level is tiring for anyone, let alone when you're playing 10 games in a month.
Mate, look, the schedule is a bit fucking overcrowded, boys. But one thing I think, look, I tend to agree with what Addy's saying, but one thing I think that we're forgetting is we've got players out injured, and we just haven't got the depth to. It's just that's just what it is, boys. We haven't got the depth. We haven't got the players to throw in. Like, I'm looking at that bench and I'm thinking, okay, what do I change today? I might bring Lacazette into the middle. I'll probably play.
Oh, is he there? Hello?
No, he's gone, but I'll carry on talking. He'll come back. He'll come back at some point. My two main points on the game are on the selection. Sorry, it's a stronger team than started against Liverpool. So we can't praise the win on one side and then say today started too weak a team, because obviously Villa are levels below Liverpool, and the team last week was not as strong as it was today.
The difference is Xhaka.
On the other side. Well, look, there's a lot of differences, but also they played Thursday against Everton. We've played on Wembley, which is a massive pitch. We've covered a lot of distance, and I've never played at Wembley, obviously, because I sit here, but I've had mates that played at Wembley, and they all say it is the heaviest, most draining pitch ever. Like, everyone comes off the pitch fucked, and it was a big criticism of Wembley as a stadium when it first opened. So it's not only that we've had hard games, but I think we've played twice since they've last played, and against two top teams on a big pitch. I don't think the lineup's terrible. I think he had to make changes. Would I have picked that exact lineup? No, but is that lineup why we lost the game? Also, no. We had 0 shots on target. Players weren't interested. I put in the WhatsApp group after about 10 minutes. Aubameyang did not want to be there. Like, every 50-50 ball, he made a 60-40 to them. Like, when usually it's a 60-40 to him because of his pace. Didn't want to be there. You saw for their goal, like, he's having a laugh with Mings, and Mings spun off him, and he was like, "Oh shit, I better do something about that." He's not just him, but he's obviously the talisman, so he's the one you look at. Like, I think Arteta got the subs wrong, and I think tactically he got it wrong. He overloaded the top end of the pitch to try and get an equaliser, but I genuinely, and this is not anything against Lacazette, I don't think he touched the ball in the last 20 minutes. Like, because we just overcrowded an area, and it was so easy for Villa to defend. I think there was a lot.
Do you know what Arteta should have done?
That was horrendous.
It would have made more sense with the substitution to have taken Laka off, put Eddie in the middle for the press, and then put Pepe on the right.
I mean, I don't know how Eddie stayed on the pitch, to be honest. He basically offered nothing. But I mean, and you two are both in the group, so you can go and check this. I said about 3 minutes into the second half, we could be there all night and we ain't scoring. And barring Eddie's header from a corner, which I think they should have dealt with better because the ball was in the 6-yard box. So for me, that's got to be a keeper or defender's ball. It hit the post, so it doesn't count as a shot on target. But that was literally our only chance. You could see, and I'm not trying to say I'm some form of genius, but you could see a mile off what was going to happen in that game. And I can't blame the selection. You can't, I mean, in a sense you can, but when you have 0 shots on target and you've got Eddie, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe for whatever it was, half hour, I can't just go, oh, the 11's wrong.
Oh, is he back?
Sorry, boys, I'm back. But you know one downpour on this fucking thing. If you get a phone call, you're fucked.
Oh,
Good thing that it's 1:45 here.
Yeah.
We ain't getting any calls.
You've just continued on, I guess.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that I just felt that I said to one of my friends, Villa friends, at halftime. He was like, I think we need a second because we never keep a clean sheet. And I replied to him that this might be the first time you actually keep a clean sheet this season, because Arsenal love to break records for other teams or and everything throughout this season and last year's. But then for me, again, one of the concerns I had was that our lack of creating clear-cut chances, not just in this game, but I would say in the last 3 games, even though we scored against City and it was good, but when we're in possession of the ball, I think the first goal against City, that is what I thought we were going to do a lot more of when Arteta came in. And maybe it's because we're playing 3 at the back, which is his negate, because I would say his first 10 matches, that was the football I was seeing, and that was what I expected that to be something continuously. But I think because we've changed to the free, has that now negated that? I think we just lack that creative in the final third.
Can I just say about just quickly about that? What I think is that I don't think Arteta ever wanted to play at three at the back. I don't think it suits us either. I think the reason we do it is because we are weak at the back and it covers us. Because if you look at it on paper, and there was a stat that was sent to me after the game today, which is that since Arteta's been at Arsenal, no one's created more than Mesut. Now, on paper, you could say, yes, Mesut could unlock the ball with a pass. And I love Ozil. But then again, could he play in the same intensity and with the press that we do? God, no. With the only time you could put Ozil into an Arsenal team at the moment would be next season if we've completely rebuilt the defence and we don't need to have all the men we do back and we can allow to have a player or two forward with freedom. Because until that, we got no choice because we are so susceptible at the back. It's the same way that it's this. And the only way we can play better football is if Xhaka starts. We play that pivot when we go, the transition when we go from a 5 to a 4. Because otherwise, you can't expect to play good the same good football that we were, because we're simply not good enough at the back. And if we try to do that, we will be caught on the counter and we will concede a goal.
Yeah, I've got 3 points on what you two have just said. The first point is we couldn't have played round Villa the way we played round City for that first goal, because Villa didn't come out, and that's not a criticism. Mings was like a magnet to his own goal apart from set pieces, which is fine. At the bottom of the league, that's what you've got to do. So you can't play around them like that. So for me, ironically, the two players that I think we missed the most today, and one of them I don't like and don't rate, were Guendouzi and Ozil. And people were going, this, that, and the other. But we had time on the ball and we couldn't use it. So and Guendouzi will drive the ball.
Guendouzi suited today like a glove.
Exactly. And I don't like Guendouzi, and everyone that listens regularly knows that. But I think we missed him too massively. And on your point, Jack, about will Ozil press from the front like the others? Usually no, but did we press from the front today? You don't need to press from the front against Villa because they pick their biggest striker, whether it's going to be Keenan Davis or Samatta, and they pump the ball long and try and get up and support him, or they give it to Grealish, who's going to run 70 yards because no one can fucking tackle him. You don't need to press for that. There's no pressure for that.
Tony, what I meant wasn't that for the press, but it's just that because we're playing three at the back, we don't have a space in the team to have a creative player, because he's. I mean, I personally, if we're playing a 3-4-3, I do not want to see Mesut Ozil as one of the two central midfielders because he's not physical enough. But then back on your point quickly, what you were saying.
It goes ridiculous for me because you're playing wing back, so you don't need three up front because you get the width from them. Play a 10 and put two up front.
But we just quick.
I would have put where Eddie was. I would have put where Eddie was because Eddie didn't do nothing today.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it's easy at times. Look, I fully understand. Well, I kind of half understand why Ozil's not in the team, but today is not an example of that because from the get-go, you ain't going to press against Villa. The same way when we was coming up against Stoke at the Britannia, pressing weren't a thing because whoever was in goal for them at that time was going to kick the ball 185 yards, and then a 7'8" striker was going to try and flick it on, or they were going to try and win a throw on. So pressing don't mean shit because the ball was 87 feet above everyone's head. Today was one of them games. And look, I'm not saying he should have brought Ozil back in because they've obviously got reasons they don't want him in the team. But for me, if that only reason is he's not going to play at the same intensity as everyone else, today there was no intensity. And because of the way Villa played the game, it is impossible to have intensity.
Right, boys. Also, just quickly. Go, Jack. Quick, mate.
I was going to say quickly on the point of Guendouzi, he would have suited today perfectly. And the reason he would have is because despite the fact that he has no set talent for what he's good at as a midfielder, the way he drives forward and the way he'll carry the ball, yes, he doesn't score goals, but at the same time, he'll bring the ball forward, he'll break down their defence, bring defenders towards him and be able to thread in a pass to, let's say for argument's sake, Pepe. But then again, the reason you can't have him there and he shouldn't be starting is because he doesn't have anything he's actually good at. He's not gifted when it comes to scoring. He's not that defensive. He's not energetic enough to be like in a box-to-box in the same way that Ramsey was. And he just doesn't fit us as a squad, as a team. It'd be great if it was 3 years down the line he was a finished product, but I don't think we have the time to waste on a player who doesn't actually have a set talent and skill, like a specific one.
I'm done with Guendouzi. I'm happy to sell him, mate. I can't sit here and say I want to try this experiment. I want to go down the road. I just don't think Guendouzi. I just don't. There's a player there, but I'm not a fan of him. I don't rate him.
And
a little bit
and
like
on top of that,
like They're a B team players. They're second string players.
And on top of that, we just don't have the time. Like, look, if there's truth in this Coutinho for Guendouzi deal, I'd bite their hand off because we're getting a player with Premier League experience. Yes, Guendouzi could be amazing in 3-4 years' time in the same way that people are looking at Gnabry now, but we don't have that time to kill with a player like this. We need players that are also going to come in and do a job now to get us back into the Champions League rather than dick about in the Europa League places.
Mate, like at the end of the day, Arsenal for me, and I think I put a little article out during the week, are we mid-table team? And I'll wrap this up very quickly, but like I think we're coming to a point was this is probably one of the worst seasons we've had. Last season, if we get the FA Cup win, is it still a good season? Of course it is. We get a trophy, but like we are on a spiral of a fucking downhill run. Like we haven't been in Champions League football for three seasons now, 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah,
and then if we miss out on Europa League. Yeah, and if we miss out on Europa League this year, I'm like, you can't fucking sit here and say that we're a top 4 or 5 team now.
But this is the thing, though, right? I agree with you that we've been in a downward spiral. I see that 100%. However, since Arteta's come in, I don't. I think if you look at it, we have shown so much promise with a very, very bang average squad. I think that we're looking at this, and I'm not just saying this to hype up Mikel or be over optimistic, but it really does feel as though we are seeing the start of a special era. And I think there's quite a few parallels you could draw between what Arteta's doing, and it's similar to the extent of some of the stuff George Graham did when he first came in. And I think with Arteta, I think that not only I think that this will probably be, if we get Europa League, which should be our last year coming in the Europa League. And I think that with the right signings, I don't see why we can't press on, because even the way the club are being run now is so much more efficiently that I just can't see it going badly to the same way that it was. Because we've got...
I can tell you now...
Rather than someone like...
Yeah, and I can tell you now how quickly fans, if we're sitting here having this conversation next season and we're in 10th position, how quickly everyone will turn around and go, Arteta's not the man. It's not happening. You know, like... It's
I'm not trying to
needs to change massively.
I'm not trying to look. If I'm going to be honest with you about that, I'm not trying to fire shots at anyone by saying this, but that doesn't come down to anything apart from the atmosphere around our fan base. And unfortunately, certain platforms have indirectly caused quite a reactionary fan base, because there is an opinion to an extent that controversy brings demand, especially with Arsenal. And I think the reason fans get negative is because it gets them clicks. I don't think there's any thought in it, because even if you look at Liverpool in their first season with Klopp, they were very on and off. I mean, Solskjaer is getting praised left, right, and centre, but people forget that he was on the verge of being sacked at Christmas, and he also single-handedly cost his team the FA Cup semi-final by benching their most prolific goal scorer and completely changing the formation. Like, the problem is when it's Arsenal, because of certain platforms, it completely exaggerates the situation, because so many people are negative, because Arsenal fans are seen as negative, and that's how people think that they can get views on Twitter and on social media.
Mm-hmm. Right, let's cruise through. Like I said, I don't want to ask... I'm not going to ask you boys man of the match, but I did throw it out there to everybody like I did the last game. So I basically threw out a poll, and once again, you get heaps of people, and it's good. It's a good little intel. Aubameyang 0 to 5, Eddie 0 to 3, Lacazette 0 to 5. Saka was 0 to 5, Torreira 0 to 4, Ceballos was 1 to 7, so probably averaged about a 7 to be honest. Yeah. So Cedric was a 4, Kolasinac was a 2, David Luiz sat between a 3 and a 7, Holding between a 3 and a 5, Martinez 1 to 7. That's a fucking massive scale. So a few people voted.
Who gave Martinez 1?
Well, I don't know.
On the point.
Okay, it's 18%. 18% people voted a 1, a 2, a 3, a 5, a 6, and a 7. So they're all 8. It's even.
This guy, on the point of Martins, one of the guys in the chat here, Rico Punt, has asked basically, is Leno walking back into the team? I think Emmy has been quality and at this stage keeps the number one spot. People have really short memory in terms of how good Leno was. I mean, although he won't get it because of short memory, Leno is our player of the season.
Yep.
Like, realistically, in the same way that Lacazette got it last season, Martinez will probably get it this year, or Saka. But Leno has been head and shoulders our best player now for probably 2 years in terms of the amount of points he saved us.
Someone mentioned this on Twitter, and I was like, cool, Martinez. One of the things that people need to understand is that the improvement in both goalkeepers, because I think Leno was a good shot stopper, but I think he's gone a step forward. It was this goalkeeping coach we brought in
from
with
Brentford.
Arteta, from Brentford. He has changed up, but then even prior to him coming, Leno, the one match I can just remember was Norwich away, where he pulled off a save, I think end of the first half, to his left, and he tipped it onto the post. And Leno has been doing that all season.
Leno's best save, in my opinion, was this at the North London derby at Wembley last season. That double save was ridiculous.
And that's...
I think the De Bruyne one.
And Leno has saved us so many points this season, but because he's had how many draws? How many draws have we had this season? 13?
Under Emery, did we have like 8 in a row under Emery or something?
I think it was. But then Leno, for me, he's player of the season. Claire player of the season.
There's nothing wrong with having the best duo of keepers.
I completely disagree with you both on both points. For me, Martinez, Leno may be better, but Martinez is in hold of the shirt and has done nothing wrong. I can't see how you can take him out. I think the summer's going to come at a horrible time for him because everything reset. If this was December, Martinez plays out the season until if he gets injured or something. But I think
100%.
He's going to be very unlucky because he's literally just not done anything wrong. And for me, for all the same reasons you listed, the player of the season is Aubameyang. For every reason.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, literally.
I was going to say, how can't you put Aubameyang?
That's a bad point.
Okay, because obviously
that's a fair point.
I'm a goalkeeper. Like I think, cool. Aubameyang's there to score goals. That's his job. Yeah, and obviously no one's there to try to keep up.
Well, he's equal leading goal scorer.
No. This is the thing. So that's why I started off. That's why I started. I'm a goalkeeper. That's why I started off saying I'm a goalkeeper. I've got goalkeeper union to back me up. Yeah. So and back up Leno, but I can understand that same point with Aubameyang because if you're looking at it the other way, he's.
Mate, if Aubameyang hadn't scored all them goals, we'd be in fucking relegation battle.
To be fair, 100%.
Okay, boys, I've got to move quickly, and it's getting late for you boys. So I just want to read out a couple of questions. I don't think we're going to get through them all, but most of them we've answered because I've had a look. Somebody, Golson fan, said Tuera for sale. How much would he earn us?
30 mil. I think Milan's in for him.
Fuck knows it.
Mr. Gazidis, tell him 40.
Manager.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll make much of a profit on him.
No, I don't think we will. What did we pay for him again?
25 to 30.
25 to I think 24.
Yeah, okay. Will Villarreal get relegated next year, or will they have brave enough to sack Emery before the first game? Is that confirmed yet, Emery?
No, but I think it's the worst kept secret in football.
Yeah,
It's funny how Sanchez is getting 2 clubs when he's come in.
Hakon Larson, price money in the PL, I would be revised so the winner and further up you earned less and the teams further down on the table earn more. I don't know what he's saying, a quote there or something. I don't know.
It's I get what you're coming from.
That's called Robin Hoodism.
It's it actually wouldn't make too much difference because of outside investment, but it's going down sort of the American route of trying to make everything equal. Obviously, in America, they make everything completely equal. It's trying to make the league equal, but the positional prize money is next to nothing. The TV money split anyway. I think the difference in the Premier League, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's 250k a place. So Liverpool finishing top and Norwich finishing bottom, and there's only 5 million between it. That, and obviously everyone knows when you look at the clubs, there's more than 5 million in difference between the two things. So the prize money actually is so small, it makes next to no difference.
Okay, Hall's a marble. He says, I'm starting to worry about Pepe. His talent is there, no doubt, but is a part of the issue of placement out wide. He seems to be cut off and needs to be one of the ball to influence things. I often thought about this the other day with Pepe.
Can I be honest with you? Pepe's had what? It's his first season in the Premier League, adjusting to a new league. He's got 17 goals and assists under 3 managers. That's not a bad return for a first season.
The issue is the price tag, and that's not his fault. I don't think we're using him the best.
Yeah, sorry, boys, you there?
Yeah.
I get fucking lots of phone calls during this podcast.
I mean, I was answering the question, but you carry on talking about your phone call, Tel.
Put your phone onto. You should lock your phone and put it onto driving mode or do not disturb.
I should have done that. Yeah, that's a good fucking idea. Do not disturb, you cunts. Fuck off. Right, go, Tony.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, there's definitely a player there. I think Arteta's turn in trying to do the same as what happened with Sterling, which we're led to believe was a large part of what Arteta done at City. I think we could use him better. I don't think we're using him to his maximum at the moment. Ironically, I think against City we probably used him the best we have done in a while. But there's definitely a player there. I'm not worried. I said it the first time I've seen him play. I wasn't worried. I'm still not worried. Did we overplay? Probably. Can we judge him on that? No. It's not his fault. He didn't know. The same way, I think Harry Maguire is quite good. As long as he's got a hole in his arse, he ain't worth 80 million. It's not his fault. Like what he can only be the player he is, and you put a number on his head, that's nothing to do with him.
When's his contract run up? It's 3
or 4 years.
No, not for
4. It was 4 or 5.
5. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a 4 for that money, or it would have been a 4 with an option.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got? FPL Canada. I think it's clear now that Arteta can organise us well. It's tactical astute. Give him better players, and Arsenal can challenge Kroenke the money, but doesn't have the desire.
Well, I disagree with that as well.
I disagree with that in both parts.
Yep.
Because look at managers that have got to move up. They've done expertly with a club. They've got to move up, and then they don't know how to handle them players. You could argue Unai Emery's been one of them. Just because I don't think I think I will do well with better players, but everyone seems to think, look what he's done with these. What could he do with better players? There's no guarantees. And on the other hand, I mean, I'm so bored of this Kroenke shit. I've been bored of it for 2 years. No one knows.
Did you see the plane? Did you see the plane today?
The plane is embarrassing. Even the group that done it have now admitted that they were wrong. I mean, they admitted they were wrong about 5 minutes after everyone saw it. Like, and even if you're right and I'm wrong, and he is a dick, he owns the fucking club. Like, if I've got a business worth £2 billion, you flying an aeroplane for 5 minutes above a football ground ain't going to go, oh yeah, by the way, I'll sell it. Like, yeah, give me 200 quid for it because you don't want me. Like, are people that fucked up? He owns the business. Whether you like that or not, doesn't come into it. And also,
I asked myself that, Tony, what do they fucking want? Do they want an owner like Manchester City who just spends a shitload of money?
You can't have that anymore. You can't have that anymore because of financial fair play. Again, it's been limited for this coming window. But look at his track record. Look at his track record, right?
The Kroenkes took on
They spend money
million of debt last week. Like,
Which also for
I'm not-
record
I'm
frees
not
up.
saying-
We can spend our cash reserves. We got home. The fact what Kroenke's just gone and done is pay off all the debts. We now have complete control. We can spend our cash reserves without being liable to the bank. And then further to that, the bonds we're then going to be taking from KSE will be at the most minimal legal interest rate, and it'll help us pump money in the future when financial fair play comes back. It's genius.
Do you boys want a team that competes for the Premier League, wins the Premier League, or is just there and enjoying football?
You want to
I want a team that
His
competes.
desire shows that. But look at the Rams. Like, in fairness to Stan, right? You have Usmanov, for when they were in the power struggle, Usmanov saying he'll put all this money in. How do we know if they've actually offered it? Kroenke would essentially be putting money in to benefit someone else's shares. The fact that since he's taken over, we have spent money. And if you look at the Rams, look how they've climbed. I get it's a draft system, but still, Kroenke has desire when he owns the club, and he's shown that since he's bought the club. The problem is when we spent money in the past, we have people like Gazidis who spent the money incredibly badly and wasted it instead of spending it in more tactically and in better ways. And we've got a new transfer team now who I think the track record is fair enough that people should actually trust. But B, wait and see what Kroenke does, because this is only his second summer since he's owned the club outright, and he's already paid off all this debt to help us to not feel the same impact on coronavirus, so we can spend normally in the transfer window without being restricted because of the financial.
Mate, we're here. At the end of the day, we're here. We're in the league, trying to be as competitive as we can. We've got no debt. We're playing football, and we're just fucking enjoying it, boys. Like, I don't know where these people, I don't know, they all come off like they all of a sudden, I don't know if they want a Manchester City owner. Look, I'm not a Liverpool, obviously. They've enjoyed that ride of success for the last few seasons, the Glock, watching him come up through the ranks, get him to a Champions League final, the next year win it, and then win the league, mate. That's what I want at Arsenal. I want to enjoy the ride. I don't want some sugar daddy to come in and throw 200 million at us.
the people that put up the plane said, when questioned by the press, they worded it wrong, and it basically should have said, Kroenke, make sure you back Arteta in the window. Fully on board with that. Couldn't agree more. But what they've actually said is Kroenke out. And I get a lot of people don't like him, but you own something. You can't force someone out of something they own. Like, shut up.
Wait,
I'm just going to, you know what? These people need to tell me who they are. I'm going to walk around their house with a sign saying, get out and take their house. Because apparently that's okay. I'm not going to hire an airplane. It's too expensive. I'm going to write on a piece of paper, Dave out, and just walk in his house and put my feet on his sofa and get his missus to make me a cup of tea. Because apparently that's how things work.
Tony, I'm coming for your house tomorrow.
Fine, you're going to whoever put this up.
Okay, boys.
I'm writing my sign now.
What I said sounds ridiculous. You're laughing because what I
No,
said
it's
sounds
true though.
ridiculous.
It's a fact.
But these
No, but it's
It is true.
Like, it's madness.
No, and I agree.
Not
I
laughing,
agree.
yeah. Like,
Okay,
we're not,
boys.
I'm not. I wasn't laughing at you. It's the situation.
It is, and it's, and this is why I said to you earlier, Jack. If we're fucking funniest bunch of fans that I've come across, right? If we're in 10th next season, I can tell you the old fucking Arteta out banners will be flying out quick as you can look at them next season.
But it's because it suits agendas. Like, look at that Lee Gunner. He's a moron trying to compare Arteta to everything negative on the sun. It's only so he can get the clicks and the views because he's attention seeking. If he no one with the right mind could no one with a right mind could look at our club right now and not see the positives. Because the fact is this. Yes, we're complaining that we didn't chase for the Champions League and stuff. But before Arteta came in, no one would ever even thought we had a chance. Arteta allowed us to believe again, but what people forget is they also said when Arteta came in, this is essentially a 6-month pre-season, so he can work out what he wants, what he doesn't want, so we can push on properly next season. And that's the fact.
Mate, he's got a great challenge ahead of him at Arsenal, and it's, mate, any manager, I don't know about any manager because some would want the easy task. And I look at Pep with City, he's never really had a club that he's had to fucking fight for. It's just walk in, walk
that's
out
Arsenal's
type
fault,
thing.
isn't it?
But Arteta, he can become one of the greats. It's simple as that, boys. He can build this team, and we can just enjoy the journey.
I said it before. I see a lot of similarities in the situation with Arteta that you do if you look back at George Graham at the beginning. And if I got to be honest with you, I really do think, and I'm not saying this to be overconfident, as I said earlier, I really think we're starting to see the beginning of a really special period. And I really do think Arteta's the man for the job. And that's not just because what he says in a press conference, it's because how he's changed the way our players are playing. If you look at players like Mustafi, bar the Spurs game, no one would ever have thought that he would have been one of our most formed centre-backs. And he has been. I mean, so many of the players we've got now have improved leaps and bounds because of Arteta, and that's in literally a matter of months. And remember, obviously, because of the pandemic, 2.5 of those months we were all at home and couldn't do anything anyways. And if we keep going on this growth and this trajectory, we could genuinely we could really be starting a real dominant era at Arsenal. And I'm not trying to. Obviously, I understand that's potentially a long way away, but you can't not be positive and confident from what we've seen, because yes, there have been results like tonight, but even looking at City and Liverpool, when would we have ever done that in recent years and held on as well?
Boys, we're going to have to wrap it up, because if we keep going, we're going to go over this thing and the recording thing. So we might have to do the bolt, boys. I think it's about an hour and 30 minutes that we've been going for. So they only give us about that.
Does that mean you have to go?
Yeah, it means I've got to go. Can I blame you, boys? Can I blame you, boys, and just say, oh, it's fucking late over there or what?
Yeah, Mrs. Tez is there with her rolling pin telling him, get the fuck off, or we need to go out.
She's at work. She's at work today. I enjoy the chats. Yeah. I really do. We'll have to do some more, though, for sure.
I mean, our poor listeners take time out of their day to write questions that they've deeply thought about. They've racked their brains for days to write these questions, and you can't even be fucked answering them because your missus wants to go fuck. I mean, what sort of message is that? So Tez out. Tez out.
We'll give you some cunt will come through Tez out in the fucking banner in a minute.
No, okay, Tony, should we put the plane?
Let's do one more. One more. Halls of Marble says, love Tez, he's the best podcaster in the world. What else we got here? Hack on Larson, we struggle against low blocks and create almost nothing in general. Is this a tactic problem, or both? I think we are more modern and technical, better players. If you look at our passing charge from 30 metres in central, there is almost no passes. That's interesting, actually. I didn't see that. I've noticed that.
You know,
Tony
mentioned this earlier, like against low blocks, this is where you would need your Guendouzi's and Ozils. And for me, we don't have a player in the team that can get the ball and create a little bit of magic to open up a chance for somebody, or to commit a player, or to commit a defender. Like, obviously, Pepe has that ability on the wings, but we don't have a central midfielder or a 10 that can do that in the middle of the park. So that's the issue. But again, it could be down to the formation, because I think, as I said, when first 5 games under Arteta, when he played the 4-2-3-1, we created a lot of chances. I can remember the Chelsea match, Chelsea at home. We created so many matches. Man United at home. Again, our formation enabled us to create chance after chance and build through the middle of the park. But this formation doesn't really allow that. But yeah, that's.
Just on what Addy said, I kind of half agree. But the issue is, as Addy said, our abilities out wide, and then you get teams like Villa that just block the middle of the pitch, which is exactly what we've done to City, and we struggle. I mean, even the games that Addy's mentioned, Chelsea, the goal came from a set piece. Man United, it was a set piece and then a goal from coming from wide and an over or an underlapping fullback. We've had nothing through the middle of the pitch all season, really. I think, look, everyone knows I don't like stats, but I saw something the other day, I think it was maybe before the Liverpool game, and our expected assists from the two midfielders, from Granit and Danny, was 2.4.
yeah.
I don't know what the actual number is, but it ain't much more than that. It probably even is less than that. But expected assists from your two centre midfielders that have played. I mean, with Granit, he's played pretty much every week apart from when the fans had a little tantrum at him. And then Danny's probably played, I don't know, I'd say at least 20 league games. 2.4. It's just, and this is not a reflection of them as players, but that's not good enough. And as I said, what the actual assists is, there's probably not 8 between them. I'd be very confident in saying that without looking. It's just not good enough.
I'm just looking. This is interesting because I never rated Giroud much, but now I kind of see we miss him for that other option. Golson fan says we're swapping Giroud for Lacazette. Why? And when I look at Lacazette, I think, shit, I wouldn't mind Giroud now.
No, but I don't think the swap was Giroud for because remember Giroud and Lacazette were
It was a year after, I
played
think.
together. Yeah. It was 6 months, and then obviously we brought in Aubameyang and got rid of Giroud for that.
Yeah.
To rework the question then, just to make it a question, would we have been better off not signing Lacazette, keeping Giroud, and then signing Aubameyang in January? It's the same question, but what actually happened, right?
Yeah, I would have liked that bit more if I could go back.
I do.
Giroud, I think, what was it, 15-16 season where Ozil had 19 assists and Giroud didn't score, for 10 games? Since then, I've hated Giroud, man.
But everyone goes on about that, and they're right to, but we've also got to remember that Lacazette has had 10 periods. It's just because we've not been fighting for anything. They've not been worth anything. I mean, we signed Aubameyang because Lacazette hadn't scored for about 3 million games, and he scored the game before against Palace, the game before we signed him. I'd actually checked because this question came in on Sunday, I think, and Giroud's goals per game was better at Arsenal than Lacazette's.
Oh, I agree, but I think we had a better team behind Giroud than Lacazette.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because we had capable defenders.
Oh, yeah, Sandy. Yeah.
On the flip side, Lacazette's had 2 years in the Europa League, 3 years in the Europa League. So then the goals Giroud had 3 months. Like, he had the group stage,
but see, I don't agree with that because under Arsene Wenger, Lacazette only came into the Europa League like near the end of it. Similar,
it was our first year.
Emery.
What do you mean near the end of it? He came in our first year.
No. I said like his appearances. He didn't play any of the
early games.
Early games. Similar to Emery as well. It was always usually the youth, and then as we got to the harder stages, that's when Lacazette will come in, and that's where I would say I felt we missed the ball. I would say because if we were playing Champions League, you'll play your strongest team, and then you'll play them on the weekend. But cool early matches.
Yeah, but then you could argue that Lacazette had more rest before his games as well. Then.
Okay. Yes, you can.
What about Walcott, boys? What about Walcott? Walcott over Lacazette?
Never.
I'm not particularly saying I would have kept Giroud over Lacazette, but the one argument everyone always makes, and I basically set a trap when I was asking the question, because I knew someone would say it, is about him not scoring for them 10 or so games, or to 12, 18, whatever it was. But Lacazette's also had them periods. My comment on it is there is not 40 million between them. There's just not.
Nah.
Would I have swapped the two? I don't know, but would I keep Lacazette instead of Giroud? I don't. Yes, but is there 40 million price difference? Not while the world is.
No, but I think a Lacazette and Giroud would work. That's the thing. I think as Lacazette and Giroud would work over a Lacazette and Aubameyang. Because I think you can actually put them up as a two. I think they'll both work.
On the flip side, I think Giroud and Aubameyang would work. Because Aubameyang makes back post runs, Giroud goes front post, Giroud can win all the knockdowns in the areas he did for Walcott. I mean, I don't hate Walcott as much as most people, but Giroud pretty much gave him his career. Towards the back end for the last 3 or 4 years, Giroud made Walcott the player he was because he held the ball up, had the defenders around him, won the flick-ons, won the nod-ons at the back post and headed it back across goal, and Walcott had a tap in. I think Giroud and Aubameyang. As I said, Giroud naturally makes front post runs. We saw his goal the other day. We've seen it a million times over. And Aubameyang naturally makes back post runs. He's always at the back post. I think them two would have worked better than Lacazette. The only reason being is Lacazette is too far away. Like Giroud could hold the ball up, but then Lacazette can also hold the ball up. They kind of, in that sense, they both do the same job and they both don't score enough goals.
Okay, boys, I am going to wrap that up now because that pretty much is all the questions. Well, there's a couple more, but we've answered them throughout the show. Next week, what do we got? Watford
Sunday.
And then
and then the FA Cup. So we'll be back next week. And we'll see how we go. Jack, we'll get you back again, mate.
100%.
Don't make it so long, huh? No, it's been great, mate. It's been great, Addy.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call up again.
Always, Addy, mate. It's a pleasure to have you. And Tony, the Wise, how are you, mate? Good to have you.
Yeah, tell you better buy Sheila Tez something nice for keeping her an extra 10-15 minutes.
She's at work.
You don't have to.
In a minute, you're
We're all
gonna.
friends here.
In a minute, you're gonna hear her like hooting the car horn, trying to get him to hurry up.
Fucking nice cunt, eh? Yes. Hey boys, leave us with it, and you can follow us at @clockend_talk. Don't forget we've got the YouTube subscriber thing, win an Arsenal shirt. Also, I've got buy me a beer thing coming. It's all happening. I've got the blog back up and running, blogspot.com, Clock and Talk, blogspot.com, that one. So yeah, it's all happening. Just look out for us. Check our socials. Thank you and good night. See you, boys.
See you later.
See you later.